We're excited about Avatar 2. We're going to go see it. We're going to see it in 3D. And so, just to kind of warm up, we're watching the original Avatar.
Once again, we mentioned Crystal Skull 2008.
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
Where is the time going?
Crystal Skull 2008 feels more recent than this for some reason, even though this is 2009. But, like, this was, like, the beginning of, like, the 3D renaissance in film.
I really can't, before this one, I can't think of, like, a 3D big, like, promotion.
Yeah.
Before this one.
Yeah, this kind of kicked it off. This was sort of like the marriage of, you know, technology and art, you know, things that come along that kind of do that, where it's like, okay, this movie comes out as CinemaScope is, you know, or this movie, you know, and this is like as 3D has become something else. So you got these scenes where there's like a droplets of moisture in zero gravity. Looks like $1 million in 3D. Yeah,
you're grabbing it,
and then there's like a shot where you're like looking at space, and it just feels like you're seeing infinity in 3D. You're like, you know.
Because like we talked about this on the show before, like 1983, all the 3D movies that came out that year, and then with this, it kicked off. Like, remember Up?
Yeah,
that was 3D. They did, and you're right. It just kept coming and coming.
And then like there were these like movies that were filmed specifically for 3D that, like, you know, were made for it, and then at the time it was like, okay, everybody has to like retrofit their movies for 3D.
Oversaturated, like, the market.
Yeah, and then there were sort of like holdouts. There were like directors who were like, I'm gonna film my thing for 2D to be presented in 2D, and then if you assholes want to convert it to 3D, that's on you. But like, I'm doing, you know. Man, look how beautiful. Did you see this in 3D in the theater?
No, I the funny thing was, I didn't see this in the theater at all.
I didn't either. I skipped it.
Because I went to see it, but it was sold out, and I was like, but see, I wasn't so into it that, like, I was on the verge of skipping it.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, we'll go, and it was sold out. I'm like, well, it's sold out. Never gonna. I'm like, fuck this.
You encountered like a mild obstacle. Yeah, because you were on the border of seeing it. I mean, I was not interested. Like, it just didn't appeal to me at all. Like, I was like, nah, you know, like so there was some disconnect for me, at least. I mean, it ended up being this like huge monster hit. It's like the reputation of this movie. It's like it did incredible business. Everybody saw it, but it's viewed as like a bomb.
It really is, but it's like it's one of the most
successful movies ever.
Made. And like,
now that is a feat, to get a zillion people to go see a movie they don't even like.
Yeah,
you know, and get repeat business. You know,
I don't understand, like, the draw, like what got everybody into the theater.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, it just kind of happens that way. I mean, like I get it. Like, it has all the makings of a hit. You got it's Jim Cameron doing a passion project, and Jim Cameron, who's kind of like, you know, one of the geniuses of film, and sort of a genius across disciplines. So like you've got a million like spaceships and things with this exquisite design. Like, every ounce of it is like exquisitely designed. You see like these like little throwaway shots of a spaceship or some kind of giant tank with legs, and it's like, you know,
it looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, the CGI is still holding up. Like, there's just one or two scenes like when we watched episode 1, it looks good overall. Sometimes you'll see something that looks kind of goofy, but like overall, I think the special effects, like the CGI, still holds up pretty well.
Yeah, it holds up, and like it's like Wizard of Oz or something, where like you cross over from this sort of, you know, gray reality into Fantasyland, into like super colorful. And that's another thing, like color in movies, like especially these, you know, sort of like high tech, these sort of like special effectsy fantasy movies, the color is so safe. You know, it is just like grays and beiges and stuff. I don't know of like another movie that like takes as much chance with color as this.
You're so right. When I think of the Avatar color palette, it's like the blue, the green, the purple, and I love fluorescent shit.
Yeah, when sort of Cameron, grim, militarized future where everything's sort of gray and
he's gone back to like, I can see the appeal. He's gone back to like the alien to work in like the Space Marine like.
Yeah, and it that kind of is a way of inviting you into this really kind of like out there fantasy world that he's created. You know, it's kind of like you kind of get there in stages. You get kind of like gently ushered into that.
And you got Stephen Lang, great villain. He's like the
like this, like it's got like a Willy Wonka vibe, you know, when they get into there. The schnozberries taste like schnozberries. Yeah, he's just like having fun designing this alien world. And I guess like the idea was that this was going to become like a horizontally like a platform kind of like where we're going to have video games, we're going to have toys, we're going to have ice cream, we're going to have all this stuff, and like none of that really panned out. But the movie was just like an utter hit, like runaway hit.
And another thing too, like the Avatar land at Disney World also seemed to have launched in the middle of like a drought, the Avatar drought. But it's like, who's asking for Avatar land?
Yeah.
Like,
we are in, you know, like we're so deep into this sort of era of like, you know, fantasy and sci-fi movies, like post Star Wars, post Never-Ending Story. Like we're so far into this era, and it is kind of shocking how safe everything is. So then, you know, Avatar, it just feels like, okay, people are doing movies that kind of have the innovation and the visual panache of something that you would see in like, animation or in comics or something. You know, it feels like there should be a lot more of this sort of thing where you have like some like wild.
Oh yeah.
You know, and there aren't too many people who have, like, Cameron has the clout where he can do this.
Yeah, like when we get to the finale, I think this might be like my favorite stage. I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know how like the superhero movies, they'll have like the chaotic CGI like battles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Usually like a million different
things.
You know.
This does it the best. Like, because like there's still like small moments. Like we'll get to, he's like fighting on like this giant ship, and it still feels like visceral.
And this is a movie for gamers. Like that was the idea. The idea was like it was designed for gamers, and it feels very close to a game. Like it's the sort of world you would see in a game, and the attention to detail. Like, like the closest thing to this that I've played in a game would be like those Metroids for the GameCube.
Oh yeah.
You know, they have that kind of where you'd have like little floating, tiny creatures that like illuminate the area.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I like this like luminescent, bioluminescent kind of thing. Oh, and he's working with Sigourney Weaver again.
Yeah.
And then we were mentioning too Sam Worthington. It's like you're in 2009, you're in the star of Avatar. You can just disappear for 15 years.
Sam Worthington, he was like, you know, he was in everything at a certain point in Hollywood, and that time is sort of over. But yeah, like maybe this will be like a comeback or something for him.
Yeah.
But he was in like everything, and my first encounter with him was in Terminator Salvation.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And it was like, wow, they found a guy who looks exactly like young Arnold to sort of play, you know, like the like a young Arnold kind of character. And like, so that was my idea of him, was like, oh, this sort of like the new Arnold kind of guy or whatever.
They got him.
And then like Terminator Salvation bombed. I liked it, but it bombed. And then and then his career just kind of took off in other stuff. And so you just never even heard about that. Nah. So it's like, wait, how come nobody's mentioning that this guy is like, you know, the new Arnold or whatever?
Yeah,
you know?
like he you're right. He like faded away a little bit. But yeah, maybe after he's in Avatar 2, we'll see him in more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is nice when you're sort of connected to, something like this. So then it's, you know, like when there's a sequel, like you're back, even if you're not maybe, in the good graces of, you know, like the public or like the Hollywood, you know.
You're in actor jail.
Right, yeah.
And I bet Sigourney Weaver's like, my character died, she's like, shit.
Well, I mean, they could have some CGI version of her or something. The guy, I don't know his name, but the guy who painted all those like Yes album covers, he sued the production because like all the floating islands with all kinds of vegetation and stuff. And like to me, I kind of felt like the whole floating island thing is like up for grabs, like it's sort of public domain. But I don't know if maybe there's some specific shots or something where he's like, okay, here this is this Yes album, and this is this other Yes album, and this is this Psygnosis video game box art or whatever.
Did he didn't win in his lawsuit? Did you know?
I don't think he won.
Because the Na'vi all start. They're like, she's like, my brother wants to show you his prog band. They start playing Roundabout. Like apparently, like James Cameron, I heard him say that these were inspired by it's either China or somewhere. They have these like mountain ranges that look like this.
Yeah.
And that's where he based them off of. There's another video game too. Do you ever remember Panzer Dragon?
Yeah, Panzer Dragoon.
Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah. Flying around on dragons. Yeah, in this kind of like mythological, floaty island kind of world. I like when I was a kid, I was, completely fascinated with this aesthetic and made up my own little world of like floating islands and made up little like video games and stuff.
One thing is, if I was in this movie here, I would fucking like fall. I would fall on the first day. Like I can't, like the heights, like just creeping around. I'm like, forget it.
Well, this is fun. Like it feels like making up for lost time because we're gonna see Avatar 2. We're gonna have the 3D glasses and stuff, so we're ready, to like see what we missed out.
There's another cool like in the world building, like the characters like can link up with animals through their like hair.
Yeah, that's like it. That kind of like, rubbed me the wrong way with this movie because it was like, it felt too much like a game and it felt like a constructed world, like where it's like, oh wow, everything in this world is in harmony and the people can plug their hair in and control and it's like, yeah, or it's like a completely contrived world that was created by a director, who's trying to make video games.
You're like trying to like peel back. It's like, what insidious elements of this?
You think about like that Zelda game, the Zelda: The Breath of the Wild or the Wind, whatever it's called, that Zelda game for the Switch, and it's kind of got a little bit of feel of this, but like that Zelda game is also, it's like so safe compared to this. Like there wasn't like a game that like really pushes like insane visuals and insane situations, like just look at the coloring on those animals they're flying around on.
Pretty great coloring on there. And like this is when I just watched it recently for the show. I had the only other time I had watched this was in 2014. Okay. That was the first time I saw it.
Wow, okay.
And this is the second time I've seen it.
Well, it became such this like cultural force. Like it became such a huge hit that it is easy to kind of be like dismiss something when it's,
You're like, because I ran into a minor obstacle and was like,
right. Well, so what is it about Avatar 2 that has you so excited where like this, doesn't or this didn't at the time? Like is it just like perspective?
Yeah,
just having had some time.
Like, also James Cameron. It's like we don't get too many movies from James Cameron. Like, and I think of these, like, kind of what the superhero flicks have like kind of like taken a page from Avatar's playbook. Yeah. I think this does it like kind of what they're messing around with pretty well.
Now I think about like, these directors who like are on such a hot streak and then they get to kind of push things and do something and usually it takes the form of length where it's like, okay, now I can do a really long movie and I can kind of luxuriate in scenes, and it ends up like working against them a lot of time, like where it's like I'm thinking Avatar 2 might be tighter. It might be a little more like, trim, some fat trimmed off, because this does luxuriate and
it does,
and it borders on boring in.
Yeah, like if you tune in at any point in the movie, you're like confused. You're like, what the fuck's going on?
Like, you know, like I think of like Grindhouse, where it's like, you know, Tarantino made and Robert Rodriguez made this like sprawling movie, and then it like took a beating, and then after that, you know, they were doing like much tighter, you know, much trimmed down. Now I mean I loved Grindhouse.
Me too.
And the first time I watched Grindhouse in the theater, when it was over, I wanted them to just replay it. You know,
Same
just put
here.
Put it back on. Let's watch that again. You know, but you know.
Me and my buddy Scott were like, that was the best thing.
Yeah, that was the best time I've ever had at the movies was Grindhouse, hands down.
Stephen Lang is so like another thing. We're on a streak talking on these episodes of somebody dying in a movie and then just coming back CGI wise.
Yeah.
Stephen Lang's character is dead as disco in this movie, and I swear to God, I saw him in like
in
a
the
preview.
trailer,
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what?
I mean, also like, you know, comic books. It's, you know, like that's just classic comic book stuff. Like the Joker dies at the end of his first appearance in the Batman comics, you know, and he's you know come back 1,000 times.
Maybe I was just hopefully he's in it. Maybe I was just wish fulfillment or just thinking I saw him.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's been enough time too since this came out that like the culture's memory for this stuff is like that. You know, it's like who even remembers? So you can like play with that and just be like, yeah, you know, here he is.
I'm like, didn't
I mean, it's not going to bother me. Like,
no,
you can do whatever you want in part 2, and I'm not going to be like, hey, you know.
What if there's like an Avatar like master that's like calling out like someone that's like
well, I wonder
calling all the props
because like you know you sort of like learn about these fandoms, and like there's like a deep fandom for just about everything, and I wonder, like I haven't encountered like the Avatar fandom, but I imagine there is like a hardcore Avatar fandom out there.
Yeah, like you never hear. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You never hear like somebody like a billion people saw Avatar, but nobody wants to admit they've seen it.
Well, like I mean, I did Transformers versus G.I. Joe, and so I kind of found out about the deep Transformers fandom and the deep G.I. Joe fandom, and then I did GoBots. And there's a deep GoBots fandom that I was unaware of that I've learned about.
We
and
love GoBots.
So like if there's a GoBots fandom, I mean there's got to be
an Avatar fandom.
The fact it's like Avatar 2, The Way of the Water, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like he's double. It's like I'm gonna take take Avatar and combine it with Waterworld. I'm really going for it this time.
Or you're right, his passion, his undersea passion.
That's true. Yeah, his all his deep sea diving and stuff. Yeah, he's like Cameron is like he's such an interesting guy and has like all these like amazing interests and that sort of all come together in his films.
I wish he would. How long ago was 2009? That was like. I wish he would pull a Sam Raimi where if he's doing these big tentpole movies, but still doing his like lower budget like weird movies.
Yeah, I want to see Cameron's The Fablemans. Like do his like sort of small autobio. That could be Fablemans 2. Also, could be like let's see the next stage of Steven Spielberg. Like let's get a Fablemans. Make it a franchise where like we get to see every stage of Spielberg's career, his career. Yeah.
If there was like a like his time.
There's Giovanni Ribisi.
You never see him in too many things.
Yeah. I want to get like a script writing app. I don't know if there's like a good one.
There was Final Draft.
Yeah.
Is a good one, and there was also one that I was messing around with before, but it was. We were talking about insidious things.
Yeah.
One, it was through Apple, through Amazon, and it was like this like screenwriting thing, but like
it like takes your idea.
I'm thinking it was like you write your shit in there, and I think like they might have like you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like they own it, or they like copy it and start making that movie and don't credit you. Yeah. I'm
pretty sure that was like a thing. They got rid of that.
Yeah.
But it was like. Yeah, log in and write your shit in there. We'll fucking
awesome.
comb through it and take
That's
your
awesome.
shit.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do with products.
Yeah.
So why not? We watched Avatar, and now we're pumped for we're ready for Avatar 2.
I'm ready. I'm ready. This is on Disney Plus, so,
Yeah, so
you got to
you can
squeeze
catch
in a 3 hour. If you got a tight 3 hours to spare.
before the new one comes out.
They have some cool Legos. They got Avatar Legos.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen any of those. I'll have to check those out. And electronic one, like the Super Mario Legos, where you can like play a game with it.
No, I didn't see any electronic elements on there, but there's this.
I'm surprised Cameron's not at like the cutting edge of that, of like some
of
cool
Lego
electronic Avatar Legos.
There's another thing, another aspect. They kind of pulled a nice switcheroo here, where the Na'vi have the power to like through their like weird like if you put people at the foot of this like tree thing, you could put your spirit into like another body. And I thought that this would be like, oh, Sigourney Weaver's gonna live. Then they're like, nah, it didn't work. So she ended up dying, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice.
Yeah, but she's in that tree, so they'll figure something out in the next movie where they stick somebody in that tree, and she's like still bumping around in there,
Tom, oh my God, we're gonna see a CGI Sigourney Weaver. And yeah, dances. It has the dances with wolves element because, and even like Apocalypse Now, because Sam Worthington's keeping like a journal. So he's like doing like voiceover.
This is the end. Bum, bum, bum. My only friend, Leon.
He said it's like you have to terminate with extreme pressures. He's like, yeah, see that like weird moss stuff. She's like, keep me for the sequel.
Those the fiber optic, living fiber optic cables that attach to your spinal column. Like, my aversion to spoilers kind of goes back to like the old days of movies, because it was like going to see Batman Returns. I didn't want any spoilers because in those Tim Burton Batman movies there were maybe like 3 cool parts in those movies, and it's like you didn't want any of them spoiled, because then it's like, okay, well now there's only 2 cool parts, and like somebody spoiled the Batmobile shedding the pieces to go through.
That.
And like I was real mad about that, because there's only 2 other cool parts out, after that, so it's like you blew it. But like movies aren't like that anymore, so now like these like Marvel movies and stuff have a bunch of cool parts, so it's like, okay, if you get a couple of them spoiled, there's still going to be something
cool, else in there. When I was little, I would just like I would read the newspaper and read I would kind of like read the reviews.
Well, I used to do that too as a kid. Like I think I probably started avoiding spoilers after RoboCop, because I had like read the RoboCop comic. That stuff would come out, before the movie, and I read the Batman '89 graphic novel adaptation, and I read the novelization. Wow. So like, and then you see the movie, and then it kind of like pales a little after you've already kind of like lived the story. So it was kind of like after that I started. So then like Batman Returns would have been the beginning of me being like actively avoiding spoilers. Yeah.
Like for Batman '89, I had the trading cards, so I was gleaning stuff about it from like the Topps cards.
Well, the big thing, they explain a lot of the scenes so much better in like the novel and the graphic novel, where in the movie itself there's like a little more room for mystery, and like it seemed like there was a lot of dialogue that was in the script that was kind of taken out just from it. So it's like so then like I'd be talking to some other kid who saw Batman '89. Like, I didn't see it opening weekend. I did eventually see it in the theater, but I didn't see it, like... So I'd be talking to other kids who did see it, and then I'd pretend like I saw it.
Oh, yeah,
but then I'd be, like, quoting stuff from the graphic novel. Like, that wasn't in the movie. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, right.
That's amazing.
Because, like, there's that scene where he, like, Vicky Vale's in the Bat Cave, and then he, like, lifts up his wing, and then she, like, there's all bats flying. And, like, in the graphic novel, it was, like, he, like, lifts up his wing, and then he, like, opens up this capsule, this gas capsule. And she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's knockout gas." Something like that. Like, he kind of over-explains what he's doing. And, and so I was talking about that, and I'm like, that's not in the movie. But when we were reading Sam Hamm's script, that is in the script. Like, the script, there's a lot more mystery and sleight of hand and magic in the movie that, like, in the Sam Hamm script, things are, like, more spelled out. Yeah. And then in the novel, there's like the scene, so I'd be talking to someone, how about that scene where the Batmobile lifts up and then spins around. They go, like, what are you talking? Like, that was in the novel, but then it wasn't in the. They ended up saving it for Batman Returns. Yeah.
I love that like pivot scene.
You've been watching the Avatar episode of the Total Recall Show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
And yeah, we'll see you.
We'll see you at the movies. We'll see you The Way of Water.
I love that that's becoming our sign-off is we'll see you at the movies. You will totally recall seeing us at the movies.